I'm Duncan Rydall. I'm the Chief Fire Prevention Officer for the Town of the Blue Mountains Fire Department. We're going to do a walkthrough of this property. It's a fire inspection for short-term accommodations licensing. We're at the Tyrolean Village Resorts down here in Craigleith, and well, let's go inside. So once we're inside with the short-term accommodations, we first look at the license to see if it's accurate, to see if it's within the parameters of its licensing dates. They're an annual license, and it's really important that everything's accurate here. The emergency procedures are in place and the floor plans are in place, because the people that come here, it's like a mini hotel when you come to a short-term accommodations. It's not your typical home, it's designed for the traveling public, and this way all these things are in place just so that the people that come here have a comfort level and they know where the exits are and they know what the emergency procedures are in the house. Key life safety components that are included in the short-term accommodations are exit signs with emergency lighting, and also fire extinguishers that are a minimum of 3A10 BC. You can put in a 3A40 BC, it's just a little bit larger, and sometimes it's easier to purchase. The 3A10 BC can sometimes be hard to find in stores. Another feature, we have interconnected smoke alarms throughout the building. They're in all the bedrooms, they're in the corridors, and we also have an additional smoke alarm in the furnace room, just because that's usually where your heat sources are, and the earlier detection, the earlier we can have action for people to move in case of an emergency. All the smoke alarms are interconnected, and that means that if one goes off, whether it's in a bedroom that someone has put a candle in, or if someone's left something on the stove, one smoke alarm goes, they all go. It's a great system. It's like a small fire alarm system for your home, and it's going to make it a lot safer. But the key factor is that when the smoke alarms do activate in a short-term accommodation, you want to make sure you get outside. Another item with our life safety is making sure that the extinguishers have had an annual inspection, and also that someone is doing the monthly inspections. Monthly inspections are very basic. You don't have to have a contractor do it. You can actually, the property manager can do it themselves. The key thing is that you make sure that the gauge is in the green zone, it's in the top so it's charged. You make sure that there's nothing blocking the nozzle of the extinguisher. And just that it's in good condition. If it was used and someone put it back in place, unless you do your monthly inspection, you'd have no idea that the extinguisher potentially couldn't work. Another critical thing is your smoke alarm testing. Every time there's a change in tenancy, you have to test the smoke alarms and the CO alarms to ensure that they're working, because if someone for some reason disabled one, the incoming tenants would have no idea that the smoke alarms aren't working. So every time there's a change in tenancy, you have to test the smoke and CO alarms. Having more than one exit is critical in an emergency. In case your exit's blocked, you're going to go in this place. We've got two exits. We've got a patio door that goes out onto a balcony, and then we've got another patio door that goes out to another balcony on the front, because we're currently on the second floor. If you're in a property that has windows and on the second floor, out of a bedroom, that can sometimes be considered an emergency exit. It's only used in an emergency if your staircase down to get out of the property is compromised. In that case, what you would do is you would stay in your bedroom, you would close the bedroom door, you would go to the window, open the window, and if you had a flashlight or a pillowcase or something you could wave, make sure someone's called 911. And with that, when the fire department arrives, what they do is what we call a 360. They go around the building to see where the fire is, to see if anybody needs rescue. In that instance, we would ladder the building. We would help the people off the second floor if there wasn't a set of stairs or a balcony that they could come down from. If you're considering a window as a second exit on the second floor, there's a dimension factor that has to be factored in, and that dimension, it would be on your intake when we do the bylaw application. And when the fire inspector's there, we'll actually bring a tape measure, we'll measure the window to see if it works or if it can be considered as an emergency egress window. If it is, there must be signage for instructions that it's going to be posted beside the window on how to open the window. And also there's a posting that it's an emergency exit only. It's not something you're going to use on a continuous basis to get out of the building. It is only for an emergency. As far as the home heating, if you've got a gas fireplace, if you have an actual wood-fired fireplace, there's a requirement for an annual inspection. When they do that annual inspection, you collect the paperwork and you forward it to the fire department, and we continue on with our fire inspection. Critical things with it are that you keep combustibles away from it. Some people aren't familiar with using a wood-fired fireplace, so if you are unfamiliar with using a wood-fired fireplace, I strongly recommend you don't use it. We strongly encourage that someone uses gas or propane fireplaces just because they're easy for the traveling public. They're a turn switch on, turn it off, and it's much safer. Another feature of short-term accommodations is because we're in the service room, this is potentially where a fire could occur if there was a malfunction with your furnace, your hot water tank, or if someone stored something too close to a heat source. With that, we add an additional smoke alarm. Critical thing with a smoke alarm is making sure when you install it that this tape comes off, because this tape is covering actually the detection ports on the smoke alarm. By not removing this, your smoke alarm is not going to detect smoke, and it's kind of useless. So it's very critical that you make sure that this tape is off your smoke alarm. Making sure that the service room has no combustibles in it. This is designed for your hot water tank, your furnace, your boiler, maybe your electrical panel. That's all that should be in this room. We don't store towels, we don't store pillows, we don't store extra bedding. This is just for these appliances. If we eliminate the possibility of a fire occurring by taking any combustibles that are in here, we've really made the place much safer. If you have a gas hot water tank, if you have a gas furnace, or any other gas appliance, or if it happens to be propane, there's a requirement for annual servicing, and that's a safety feature. It's also it's a smart thing to do because it's going to make sure that your appliances are working efficiently. If you end up where you have electric heat, like electric baseboard heaters, there wouldn't be a requirement for an annual servicing of the electric baseboard heater. But if you do have natural gas, propane, wood-fired appliances, there's an annual servicing. You'd have to take a look at the furnaces, the flues, the chimneys, and ensure that they're safe for operation. And just like the current Ontario Building Code, we do insist that there's smoke alarms inside every bedroom. We've got one above us. This one actually has a strobe light built into it because this is a newer home. But with that strobe light, it's also for people that may have some hearing impairments, and it's just another level of safety just to ensure that your stay in Blue Mountains is going to be a safe one. So this particular smoke alarm is a 3-in-1 combo. It's a smoke alarm, it's a carbon monoxide alarm, and it has the strobe feature. Another great feature that's just come out recently in the last several years is that there's a 10-year battery in it. That means you don't have to change the battery for 10 years. Smoke alarms in a short-term accommodation are required inside each bedroom, outside the bedroom in the hallway, and also on every floor, and one in the service room. In addition to that, if you have any fuel burning appliances or if you have an attached garage, you need carbon monoxide alarms outside the sleeping areas on every floor. Even if there isn't sleeping on the floor, if there's a floor space that's shared, if the floor and ceiling of 2 different levels is shared, there's a requirement for carbon monoxide alarms on that level. We're now in the basement level of this property. It's important to have 2 exits. There's an interior stairwell that takes us up to the first floor, but a feature in this property is there's a basement walkout. This walkout takes us directly to a set of stairs and brings us outside to safety, and we would go to our meeting place. If your property didn't have a basement walkout, there would be the requirement that you have adequate windows for emergency egress. They would need the signage and instructions on how to open the window. But by far, the basement walkout is a superior safety feature that we strongly recommend. If you have a hot tub that you're supplying to the traveling public, when it's not in use or if there's kids around, ensure that it's locked down. Make sure the tabs are locked in place so that a child couldn't open the lid and fall in and have a potential drowning. Make sure that your secured lid on your hot tub. If your short-term accommodations application is in a home that's already existing and the home already has a hardwired smoke in the corridor but you don't have smoke alarms in the bedrooms, we do accept wireless features. The critical factor with the wireless feature is that the wireless device, smoke alarm or CO alarm that's in the bedroom, it has to communicate with the hardwired one that's out in the hallway. Those products are available and they make it easy to retrofit your place for your short-term accommodations. This concludes the fire safety portion of the short-term accommodation licensing requirements. For more information on short-term accommodations, you can visit the town's website at www.thebluemountains.ca.